Hello there, and welcome. Well, we've entered an arena which I definitely didn't learn about when I was studying teaching, and that is evaluation. Every school has a slightly different evaluation technique, and perhaps that's part of why um, I didn't learn much about it while I was being trained as a teacher. And it is also based partially on the hierarchy of how the system hires people and evaluates them. So, just for a little information, one of the things you should keep in mind is that you're supposed to be evaluated each and every year, whether you're, quote, up for tenure or not, whether you're a probationary new hire or you've been around for 50 years. You still are supposed to receive an evaluation every year. That's really what's supposed to happen. Now, who gives you that evaluation is a matter of organizational design. And how they evaluate you, what's on the evaluation documents, changes from district to district. But there are areas that are similar in all of the ones that I've been in. So before I talk about the specifics of that and before we go into some of the things you're likely to encounter while you're being evaluated and while you're working with supervisors, I want to say one thing to remind you to be sane about certain things. Good teachers do fine. Okay teachers do fine. Great teachers sometimes suffer for their greatness. The mission is to inform and train every student. That's the mission of every school, to inform and train every student as much as possible in the time allotted. And any other way that they complicate the description of that mission, it's still the mission, the main mission. And if you're really, really good at it, that doesn't mean you're going to have an easy time at it. In fact, if you're the best, which I always wanted to be, I was very much a Lisa Simpson type. If you're the best, that doesn't mean you're going to have an easy time of it or that you're going to be universally appreciated by supervisors, the community, or even students. Remember, the greatest teachers that we know of in Western culture are Socrates and Jesus. So, yeah. So there's nothing wrong with aspiring to be a good teacher, because good teachers have very satisfying experiences and do a lot of good for the community. So, there are basically 3 areas where you're likely to be evaluated, possibly 4. The first, of course, is on the mission itself. Are you a good teacher? There are a lot of ways that they evaluate that, that they mark that. Are you a good member of the team? How do you do within the community of the school? In most parlances, within the building. How do you get along in the building? And finally, what is your front-facing reputation with the community? In other words, are they getting complaints from parents? Are they getting accolades from parents? What's your community relationship like? There also might be, folded into that, professional development. Things like taking classes or attending conferences might also be included in your evaluation. Okay? So keep in mind those things count. And in fact, you will probably deal with issues of appearance, punctuality, lack of judgment. You'll be judged on all sorts of things, but typically the evaluation form itself is going to be fairly generic, and you're going to get feedback that is not generally specific. It's going to be general. And you need to be prepared for that. You also need to be prepared to understand that some principals, just like some teachers, are generous with top marks, and some principals are not. Finally, before we get into the subtleties of all this, I need to bring out a couple of bags that I'm carrying around with me so that you're aware of them. Here's the first one. My dad was a principal. So my relationships and attitudes toward administrators are definitely influenced by that. I have ideas about what a good principal is and what a good principal isn't. So that's one. A second bag that I have is that a number of principals greatly admired me and fussed over me. Now that may not seem like baggage, but it sort of is. And there's a third bag that I have, and it's probably the largest one. I had a principal who was cruel and capricious, and his relationship with me is going to influence some of my comments here, just so you know. All right, there are my bags. You're aware of them. They're out there on the curb. We're going to try to leave them on the curb, and I'm going to try to offer some insight into what it's like to be evaluated and how best to respond to it. But for today, that's sufficient. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and I hope you see me again, you gorgeous people.